Welcome back, everybody. We already completed with Europe today, but we've still got North America ahead of us, and to talk about that, well, I've got myself, I'm here on the desk, and I've got Taco with me here on the desk as well. Sorry I didn't do the big reveal like Finch did for Tolly.
It's all right. I understand.
Yeah, I'm just, kind of doing my thing here on the desk, chilling, doing me and I chill, I suppose.
Finch is gassing up Tolly, man. I respect it.
Hey, man.
They've been casting together today.
That's right. They've been a good team so far, for sure. And speaking of good teams, Sanguine has been one for the majority of this phase. With a win today, they secure their spot at the Midseason Invitational. Unfortunately, Spacestation Gold has not been as strong of a team. They've been eliminated for some time, just trying to get their win going for momentum's sake, I suppose, for this squad, sitting at a mere 1-8.
Yeah, Spacestation Gold, I think, just trying to get some practice in, really just get the reps in and try to mesh better as a team. It should be interesting to see what happens with Spacestation Gold moving forward after Phase 1, but one thing I am certain of is that Sanguine and Armada have definitely been top of the crop here in North America.
Absolutely. Armada looking near unbeatable. Only Sanguine has been able to take a set off of them so far, though each team has at least taken a game off of them in the past. But Space Station is one of those teams that you can tell has the potential. I mean, they've taken games off of Armada. They've looked good against other squads. They just haven't been able to put it together.
I think individually speaking, we can definitely look at all 5 members of the Space Station Gold roster and assume that, hey, yeah, these could be some decent plug-and-play pieces for, different styles. But I think that for sure, as a whole, there have definitely been some very clear communication issues with this team. It seems like team fights, for the most part, they're actually pretty decent at handling. They just don't really seem to know what to do after that.
Yeah, the overall map play and objective play, one that has given them some trouble so far this year, without a doubt. But today, up against Sanguine, you know that they can play spoilers. Sanguine has a lot on the line. As I mentioned, a spot at the Midseason Invitational basically guaranteed for them already, but this would wrap it up in a nice little bow. Also would give them a shot at making it to the first seed overall, depending on if they were able to win out. And Armada stumble a little bit, though that seems unlikely to me. Armada seems pretty locked in the first overall slot in North America. But Sanguine has shown a lot of potential so far. I think this is a team that, even when we talk about their mid-season invitational potential, there is going to be some there.
Sanguine is a team that wants to make that land on their own terms, I think. And it starts here today with them taking a clean set win over Space Station Gold. I don't think that Space Station Gold is necessarily a team that you can expect to play clear-cut Smite. I think that, if anything, Space Station Gold could be pretty hard to read simply because of how off the wall they're really willing to kind of push things.
Yeah, they're always willing to do something different. I mean, Uzzy in the solo lane is going to have his own unique style of God pool. Mask is going to be the one leading the squad and be the one that, if Space Station Gold is winning, it's usually because Mask is doing very, very well. Chapo is going to be buying Blink on somebody. You just don't really know who each game. So if you're Sanguine, is this just a let's play a patient play style and just let Space Station Gold come to us?
I think that Sanguine should try to be more aggressive here, actually. I think that Sanguine has shown a lot of their strengths happen to be in the early game. With Sheento and Panitom, these 2 players alone definitely understand how to be fairly controlling from a mid-jungle aspect. And I definitely think that Space Station Gold isn't a team that I would want to risk going later and later with. We've seen them have those late sets with other teams, and I don't know. I feel like Sanguine just want to get in there, close it out, and take off. Yeah,
that's the way this team has done pretty well so far. I mean, Ronngyu likes to play these types of aggressive supports. Panitom is going to play the hyper carries the majority of the time. But Sheento's been the guy, I think, more than anybody else. If you're looking for a star in the Sanguine roster, in a team that really operates very well as a team, Sheento is usually the one for me that stands out and has one of those breakout performances.
Sheento could definitely pose a huge challenge for Chapo and Mask. I think that he really understands how to use all that space from the mid lane and the side jungle surrounding it. And I definitely want to see Sanguine prioritizing Sheento's picks here in the drafting phase.
Well, let's see if that's what they're going to do. Picks and bans ready for game number 1 between these 2 squads, Space Station Gold in that first pick slot. And something tells me Merlin is not going to fall to 9th overall pick in this set? Just a bit of intuition, I've guessed.
I think it's a lot more unlikely that we see Merlin in a 9th pick. I think it might also even be a possibility we don't see Merlin, period, because Space Station Gold or Sanguine might just opt to ban it away. But Space Station Gold, I think, have arguably looked their weakest in their game ones, which is another reason why I think Sanguine should just look to try and play this one super aggressively.
Could be an option for them. Merlin is banned by Space Station Gold. Usually you see that banned by the team in the 2nd slot because it is such a priority pick for the 1st pick, but it's going to be the Naja banned by Sanguine. Again, a god that they really like in the support role. Space Station, I mean, it's been a ton of Artio and Bacchus for Mattypocket in the support role, so it doesn't feel like that's really a threat for that in the support role, but instead it's going to be the Jormungandr in the solo lane, I'd imagine, here for Space Station Gold, though, you know, there's plenty of flex potential for it.
I feel like it's almost cheating for me to get involved here, and people are going to say that, so I think that Jormungandr is a very wide open selection choice right now. You can take him into solo, you can take him into the support role even, or you can take him into the jungle, which I have a feeling could be the bizarro coincidence. I asked Matty, I'm not gonna lie, just like, hey, what is the team's like game plan, you know, moving into your set, and like, you guys have been having a pretty tough time lately. And he was like, yeah, I think we could do something kind of crazy.
Okay, something kind of crazy on the table here for Space Station Gold. Certainly does sound crazy to me. Xbalanque, the selection here for Oswaald. Freya locked in by Sanguine. This is usually the matchup that a lot of players want to avoid. Usually that's a Jingwei pick as soon as you see the Freya. This is one where once Freya gets that hastened ring online, it's very, very hard for Xbalanque to deal with.
I think that Xbalanque does have the poison darts though to work around, and the Darkest Night is such an important asset in team fights that could cause some trouble for Sanguine keeping their Freya alive, because I'm not completely sold on this being a Freya in the ADC role. I think that there is some possibility that this is a choice for Sheento instead. And with that in mind, I like that Space Station Gold are essentially holding on to that mid lane pick for Chapo, kind of just trusting that he's going to be able to dive deep enough into his god pool if necessary.
We'll have to wait and see if that's their game plan. Osiris, the final pick before the ban phase. Osiris has really risen from the dead, literally this time around. I mean, he was seen absolutely not at all at the beginning of this phase, and all of a sudden has really become the flavor of the month. Just a classic pressure pick in that solo lane.
I think a lot of people just forgot about how detrimental Osiris can be, especially against hunters like Xbalanque, where their source of escape is a dash. Well, Lord of the Afterlife does a fantastic job of chasing after that, and Sanguine just continue to maintain that intention for control around jungle space with the Humbots bringing in that Fear No Evil to add to the AoE presence that Terra already had on board here. I think that, okay, well, the Havant pick convinces me a lot less that it's going to be Jormungandr jungle here.
Yeah, I think so too, but it still could be solo. We could be looking for a mid laner here, though Jorm could be in the mid lane, I think, for Chapo. Ullr is going to be mid. Okay, so it's going to be Jorm solo, Habwa jungle, Ullr mid. A bit more traditional, but this is the exact type of composition I like to see Space Station Gaming on. Something that Uzzy can dive with. Chapo is going to play aggressive, so put an aggressive god in his hands and let Mask play a hyper carry in the Habwa. That being said, Sanguine's team fight is disgusting in this game. I mean, Earth and Fury, Fear No Evil, Lightning Storm for Zeus. Space Station Gold have to take all of their fights in lane and without everybody there, it feels like.
It's going to be a tough one, I think. I honestly feel like Sanguine got the better end of this draft simply because the team fight seems to be the heavy focus here.
That could be the deal breaker here for Space Station Gold, is how well these team fights could potentially go for Sanguine. We don't have to wait around and find out. Game 1 between Space Station Gold and Sanguine starting now.
Thanks, Aggro. Thanks, Taco. Finch and Tully here as we move into game number 1. Space Station not going to be able to make it, unfortunately, to the MSI, but they still want to come in and show how strong they are. Mattypocket rejoining the team as well to play with them this week. But Sanguine, They want to grab this win and go ahead and lock up their spot.
And this would still be a good win for Spacestation Gold for like morale purposes, trying to figure out what's going to work for phase number 2. Still a lot of changes in every single week with the patches that change, with teams still figuring out what's the proper start that matches their individual style. Some teams bring the support to the soul lane, some teams use their support to invade the enemy speed buff, or maybe just stick the support in the dual lane like we're seeing out of Spacestation Gold.
We've got Matty over there, but it's Uzzy who's in trouble, taking quite a bit of poke from Jarcorrr and Ronngyu. Luckily, Mass rotated over, so the blue buff should be dropped for him. Can't say the same, though, for Netrioid, who's having his purple buff pressured, and he's under pressure of his life. Just barely makes it back to the tower, but Panitom rotates over to at least try and secure purple, but he's got to do it in the 1v2. Matty and Oswaald are more than enough to slow him down, but eventually they'll go grab it.
They need level 2 off of this wave, so going to be able to get that after the last minion. Not wanting to really contest the level 2 Batz. I respect that, because one level 2 jungler will normally beat out 2 level 1s, but then again, Batz level 2, I'm not super scared about Batz. Maybe they could have actually fought into that.
I think there's a good chance, you're right. And Batz is one of the assassins whose pre-level 5 kit can feel pretty underwhelming at times, so maybe they could have worked their way in there and still been able to successfully strip the buff away, but they play it safer and fall back. Speaking of safe, a lot of beads over here for Spacestation Gold as Mast takes quite a bit of poke. He's gonna fall! The detonate charges too much, and Sheento puts Mask in the ground.
Oh man, not a good start for Spacestation Gold. This aggressive jungle Habois needs to be the one doing the damage, not receiving it. His health pool not at the very highest, and that's why Mask opting to go for the tiny trinket. Additional 20 magical power helps him really farm it up, but instead taking that early spill. Sheento with an early red buff, going for an aggressive start in his own right, having a decent amount of ability damage between the Mage's Blessing and that tier 1 pen item. Probably going to be Spirit Magus later on.
I'd imagine so, and you saw how much work it let him do already here in the early game, taking down Mask without much trouble at all. And I wonder if maybe the pathing is partly to blame there. He kind of insists on coming in through that top side and takes some extra unnecessary poke, but in the end, it's first blood there for Sanguine as World Champion Chapo in the middle lane on Ullr. He's not wrong, grabbed that just last year at DreamHack. Definitely helped that console team, Astral, get to that finals and win.
And he wasn't there for a long time either. He stepped in almost the last month or two, practicing with that squad, and a lot of it came down to not relying on his necessary mechanical prowess, even though Chapo is known for that. It's more about his ability to kind of gas everyone else up around him, trying to make sure that they feel very comfortable, that they're pumped and they're amped up.
Time to return the favor here for Mast. Chapo works together and they catch Sheento a little bit too far forward. No beads used. Probably wouldn't have got him out of there anyway, so he still has some safety. But that's what a hunter in the middle lane can do, establish pressure.
Would have been a little tricky to find that kill if the Zeus was level 5, but Sheento only level 4 back then. Going to be able to pick up the Shoes of Focus. I'm almost curious if that's why he stayed, because he was very close to finishing off that Shoes of Focus. It would have been a really good power spike, because normally a lot of mages would have already backed by then. But the first blood bounty goes towards Sheento, so he was getting closer and closer towards completing that tier 3 boots.
Might have got a little bit greedy. I know Chapo had passed over level 5 at that point, but remember he's on the Ullr. It doesn't make nearly as big of a difference for him as it would for somebody who's not a stance switcher, but he was still able to take advantage of the time period where Sheento wasn't and caught him out working alongside Mast, and that's going to keep happening. Sheento's going to have to be mindful. I know they got that first blood earlier, but I think more often than not, it's going to be happening the way that fight went instead of the first.
I agree. Chapo now finishing off that Transcendence. He's kind of power curving towards that mid-game portion. Once he finishes off those 50 stacks, he's going to have a lot of mana to play with and spam his hail of arrows from a distance. Chapo's beats are up. If he does get engaged on the right side mid-camps, there is a blink from Panitom, and he didn't even need it in order to kill out Mask. That was just pure mispositioning from earlier.
He's got the Fear No Evil available now, does Panitom, so things get scarier trying to deal with the unbox. And I wonder how much Mattypocket might become a target for them. We saw earlier today Poseidon's focusing out the support because they're not going to have Aegis. It's so much easier to guarantee that Kraken damage on them. Well, it's the same for Mattypocket here. He doesn't have beads, doesn't really have a way out of that Fear No Evil. It's going to keep applying to him, even with the Reinforced Greaves. maybe they'll go for him.
But now making the rotations at the 5-minute mark on the right side of the map, negating that Fear No Evil is Jarcorrr and Panitom that needs to retreat.
Uzzy, though, not going into the ultimate. They don't want to try and dive Jarcorrr for this. Mass does a good job landing the ultimate on Jarcorrr that forces him out. And now the fight around the blue buff begins. But look at this rotation. Sheento and Ronngyu are going to meet them there.
They're trying to make the impact. There goes the Earth and Fury, but a nice knockup from Mask is going to delay the Lightning Storm, but Sheento still finding the kill.
So a little bit of damage will come out here from Uzzy, but he very likely is not going to be looking for any kills there. That is a failed buff invade that ends up going in favor of Sanguine when they find the kill. What a good rotation, bringing Sheento and Ronngyu over there. Spacestation definitely weren't expecting it.
They needed both pieces of that team fighting puzzle to stop that invade from happening. Earth and Fury with Lightning Storm, yeah, you're
Good
not
luck.
going through all that shenanigans.
No, that is part of that team fighting presence that had Ryan so nervous on the desk, right? When you have Fear No Evil and Lightning Storm and Earth and Fury, all some of the best team fighting abilities you could ask for, it's just hard to win when they're grouped up. Then you add in Jarcorrr and Netrioid's contributions and pick potential, and things get really scary. Spacestation have to try and play a little bit more around this Habwa and Chapo's power spike here if they want to stop that from happening again.
You were alluding to, Mattypocket not having purification beads available to him, playing the Artio, no CC immunity built into that kit.
Right.
Same goes for Chapo in terms of no CC immunity in the kit. Does
You're right.
have the beads, could have to use that more often than he would probably prefer to, as we're seeing probably Jotun's Wrath from Panitom, trying to finish that up as quickly as possible. But then again, also Oswaald, he has to time his second half of the Rising Jaguar to get CC immunity, so even he could be in a little bit of jeopardy.
And a lot of the times, just off the blink reaction, you might be able to jump or something like that to get away from the Fear No Evil and give yourself a moment. But in this situation where you have to switch from the bow stance into the axe stance to get your leap off, it's not as possible. That can make things a little bit harder for Chapo all around trying to get away from the Fear No Evil, as you do have a pause coming out. Looks like Mast needs to get back in the game. So we'll get that sorted out for you guys, get you right back in.
7 minutes in. Thus far, Sanguine up 2-1 off of the first blood and off of defending their blue buff. Answering it in between was the gank out of Mast and Chapo onto Sheento, and that's a good way to shut down the Zeus. If they could constantly find those 2-on-1s, ward those mid camps, identify where Panitom is on the Hunbats, and try to exploit it.
And Chapo should have a pretty good time trying to force out some relics or defensive usages, even by himself, before they have the full 2v1. And then that's what can really set up for those ganks to be impactful. That's why you pick a Hunter or an Ullr in the middle lane, because it's so hard to box them.
It's also a great pushing power. Hard to really outpush a Zeus that's now sitting at level 8 with consistent red buffs. Netrioid picking up his own purples, just kind of casually farming it away as Transcendence now completed for Oswaald as well. Seen it from time to time on the Xbalanque. It's a kind of a love-hate relationship for a lot of hunters, because at one point, you want to have sustain, but at another point, as a Xbalanque, you want to have enough mana to spam those branching bolas.
That's right. I wonder if he's going to be upgrading them, because if you don't upgrade them right away, and you focus more on the Poison Darts and the Rising Jaguar, then Hunter's Blessing does enough to where you won't feel like you're losing any mana. So I wonder if maybe the idea is he wants to upgrade Branching Bowls a little bit earlier than usual, and so he's going to Transcendence.
Could be the case. It's not a bad idea to max out the Rising Jaguar either, trying to get extra damage, but you don't want to use it for damage because that's also your form of escape. It's a catch-22, but seeing the composition from Spacestation, it is rather aggressive with Master on the Habwa. We'll see how that works out. Mattypocket hasn't really been able to set up anybody with the kills yet. He's been leaning a lot on this left side lane, trying to see if they can kind of bully Netrioid out, but Netrioid soaking up all the solo farm is sitting at level 9 compared to Oswald's level 8.
There's definitely a chance that a little bit too much has been soaked up there by Mattypocket, and it's put Oswaald a little bit behind Netrioid, who's not going that same Barracuda start that we see. Barra likes to go right into the hastened ring, and even sometimes skip boots and do demonic grip, but instead Netrioid's going into the pin boots and then to demonic grip. This isn't quite the same as the oppressive Freya start that makes her so popular, but it's definitely still strong.
It's just a player preference. I don't think there's a right or a wrong in either of those two builds. Penetration, never a bad thing. Mobility, never a bad thing either. Netrioid looking for some boxing exchanges. Oswaald gonna Ryzen Jaguar on out of there, but this gives Panitom an opportunity.
Oswaald might have thought that he had a good chance to come back in, but he absolutely didn't. Was Rising Jaguar caught? He just goes down immediately there, even with the beads.
Netrioid forced it earlier, and it was still on
Right.
cooldown once Panitom showed up, not even 5 seconds after the fact. Still plenty of time to look for that window. His first real gank with a blink.
That was very, very well timed from Panitom, and I mean, I don't know what more Oswaald can do there. It's so hard to be prepared for that when you're up against the Freya. And I mean, and to think about it, that was with the banish and the shots off the mark that
Yes.
Netrioid used to go into that. So really, that could have been even worse. So Oswaald did a good job to stay as far away as he could. It still wasn't enough.
Wanted to get some farm for the Transcendence, kind of baited himself into the lane, and without the vision identifying where Panitom was, it was just such an easy opportunity. Sanguine with their 3rd kill and 10 minutes in.
0-0-3 for Panitom now. Things get scarier as the Sinbots are going to continue to do Unbot's things. And it's not even so much important that the kills are on him. That's kind of why I don't mind that he has the assists. Zeus and Freya, man, those are the ones. If Panitom's opening the door, then it's Sheento and Netrioid who are walking through. So get those guys in good spots.
Looking for the gank onto Sheento, forcing out his speeds. Uzzy going to get off a lot of damage. Couple of basic attacks to follow suit. 2nd kill for Spacestation, but they're not done yet.
And keep right on pushing. Sheento never even got to use the ultimate in that fight, and that was so much more of what I was expecting from Spacestation. They just kind of walked at Sheento, just brute forced him down.
We were talking about how Mattypocket needs to make more of a presence. Well, that's all he needs to do. Just drop the 3 in the Druid form, find the roots. Even if they don't find a kill onto Sheento, that Artio 3 guarantees beats.
Jarcorrr looking to try and take down Uzzy. This isn't a true solo as the ult was forced out earlier, but he cuts him down all by himself either way. Red buff secured by Panitom. No, Champo took it away over the wall, and they want the fight on the back end. Ronngyu quite low, but Netrioid goes up into the air and has huge return fire onto Mask and finds the kill.
Everyone's just kind of scattered away. Chapo trying to run, but you can't juke out that overhand smash. Now Oswaald gonna be the 4th Space Station gold victim.
That's a tough, tough fight. They really insisted on that red buff invade, and I understand this exactly the point when they're supposed to be fighting into that one, but they end up a little bit too low. Chapo gets too bogged down, or not Chapo, but masked onto Netrioid and can't win that fight. I mean, a lot of things went wrong.
The problem was Space Station didn't focus out one individual target. Like you said, Masked was on Netrioid. Everyone else was running away from Panitom because everyone else from Space Station all used their abilities on Ronngyu,
Yeah, didn't even
almost
kill
killing him.
Yeah.
So close. It's the Earth and Fury. It's that good of an
It's a good
ability.
ability.
It lowers your damage.
He didn't even use Shell. Yeah, that's crazy.
That is a little crazy, actually, that he didn't use Shell. Maybe it was on cooldown,
Maybe,
but
yeah.
not having it to be used is a good spot if you're Sanguine, knowing that that's still going to be available for a rainy day.
No, that's a good point. Whether he had it or not, that he made it through the fight without it is real impressive. So that's huge for them. And that is part of the problem. They had Netrioid and Ronngyu both real low, but couldn't quite close those kills out. And Sanguine transitioned that 4 for 0 directly into a Gold Fury. Now they've got themselves a big lead. And it's going to be a 3v2. I don't know if they realize that Mast is here too. Netrioid needs some help. He used the ultimate in the last fight, so he doesn't have that escape path. Aegis, though, immune to the ultimate. That's perfect. And now the ultimate's back up to let him disengage. Ronngyu needs the peel.
And Mattypocket was looking behind. I'm trying to figure out, do I keep going in and evaluating the situation? And Mask was too fast on the trigger, not patient enough for that kill. Chapo really wants it. Sheento reading him like a book. He's not going to let him have it.
Now he might be in some trouble here as Champo, as Panitom tries to lock him down, but he's got backup coming, a whole cavalry squad in the form of Mast and Mattypocket. So if I'm Ronngyu and Panitom, I got to get back out of here. But man, how big was Netrioid's Aegis in that fight in the dual lane? I don't know how he read that crushing wave, but it was perfect. And now Mast with 0 options, he falls to the ground.
Oh no, 3 seconds, Finch. 3 seconds
beads?
until his bees were coming back up.
Great timing from Sanguine. They take him down again, 2 for 0. And this has suddenly gone from Space Station Gold being close, needing to press the issue more, to all of a sudden, this feels like Sanguine's game. They've answered Space Station's aggression at every point.
Panitom, just a true utility jungler. 0-0-7 on the Hun Batz. He doesn't even care that he's not getting any of the kills. Everyone else truly thriving. 2 kills for everyone but Panitom.
That's right. I think this makes some sense. I mean, the Blackthorn Hammer now finished in for him. He's just facilitating. Maybe the Ronngyu kills could be on Panitom. That'd be fine.
Sure.
but Sheento and I think Netrioid, you don't feel too bad about this. Now, Uzzy in some trouble. They're willing to commit. He does make it, though, into the World Serpent. That should be enough for him to disengage with these last 2 jumps.
Blink not available for the Hunbat's jungle. Still not there for 60 seconds. Mask
Good knockout.
gonna get the damage off, but Panitom jumping away. But there goes the blink.
Mass wants to close the distance, but he doesn't have the cooldowns and ends up dying for it. But it could be still a solo kill that comes out for Netrioid. He hunts down Oswaald underneath the tier 1, and Panitom makes it out.
Literally walking through the tier 1 tower, eating about 2 to 3 shots. Mattypocket in a lot of trouble. Stunned onto Ronngyu. Sheento with the detonate, finding the 3rd victim.
What? This feels almost like a curse or something. Every last one of these fights has gone the worst it could possibly go for Spacestation. Panitom should have died there at the very least to the rotation, but he somehow sneaks his way out, and Oswald's getting soloed over in duo, down a 3-level disparity. This has got out of control.
I don't mind that play from Mask, but he just did it a little too early yet again. If he waited a second before the blink to get his cooldowns back, then that's a guaranteed kill. Instead, he jumps the gun. He doesn't have the cooldowns. Overhand smashes up. Panitom helps with his 8 assist again, and Mask dies early. Everyone trying to follow up from Mask because he got the crushing wave damage off onto Panitom, so they're like thinking to themselves, maybe they'll find the kill.
Chapo, no way out. The Fear No Evil locks him down, and yet again, Panitom can't get the kill credit. That one goes to Netrioid. But I mean, it's too bad Mass died. He had a great timing on the knock-up on the hop walk, caught Panitom in the initial overhead smash, so he could avoid the damage.
Yep.
And he had the follow-up right afterwards. But like you said, he just blinked in and then kind of stood there after the water hand.
And the thing is, you could cancel overhand smash between the knockup, but it doesn't go off cooldown. It has to actually fully commit, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we saw Panitom still had it, so you might be right on that one, though. He does have a great bit of cooldown, so could be either way on that one. As the next Fury not too far away from spawning, Netrioid nearby, signaling that perhaps that's the intent of Sanguine. They've got 4 members on this left-hand side of the map, pushing out and trying to zone away anyone from Space Station Gold. In fact, they might even come snatch up this red buff.
Wouldn't be surprised if they get it. A 4-level advantage for Netrioid over Oswaald. Mattypocket taking way too much damage against this Freya.
That's why the Banish is so strong. Mass blinks in again, knocks up Sheento, but Sheento survives, at least for now. Chapo in trouble. Panitom can't find the Sacred Monkey bounce, but Chapo turns around and lands a sick axe. That should get him out of there.
He's trying to, he jumps away, but actually Oswaald falls victim. Panitom forced to use the Fear No Evil, getting himself a nice little double kill. Netrioid not even done with this yet, forcing out the beads out of Mass with a nice little banish. Now Sanguine, the door is open for the Oni Fury.
They can just head right back to it, and I can't think of any good reason why they shouldn't. Panitom hanging back just to make sure that Mass doesn't make his way in there. But this early game has gone the absolute worst that it can for Sanguine, because I don't know if Space Station can win a late game team fight, even if they're on even footing. I mean, Earth and Fury, Lightning Storm, and Fear No Evil are so strong as control tools. Now factor in an 8,000 gold deficit, and it's real tough.
Sanguine are doing a good job balancing their offense and their defense, because they find all the kills early because of Space Station's over-aggression.
Right.
That first blood onto Mask was unnecessary. The second kill from Sanguine was because they were defending their own blue buff. The only real offensive plays that they did on their own terms was aggressing on that red buff, and then that solo kill that Netrioid had onto Oswaald. Everything else was just kind of capitalizing on Space Station making few minor mistakes here and there.
Yeah, and I agree. They're going a little bit too far forward, but I think that Space Station had the right mentality. They tried to pressure red twice, and it didn't work as Uzzy has his ultimate forced out and right. He'll have to use that defensively yet again. But I think they had the right idea to be aggressive. They just couldn't execute it properly. And now an 18.5-minute Fire Giant's on the table for Sanguine, already down to about half health. And I don't even think Space Station are coming in to defend this one. This Fire Giant's going down.
Yeah. Fortune favors the patient, I would say, as Sanguine get an 18.5-minute Fire Giant. Very patient about how they started the game, but with this kind of a lead, the patience is out the window now. 10,000 gold. It's time to start plucking away at all the remaining towers.
And I just realized Oswaald never got any lifesteal online. We talked about the damage versus sustain matchup, but he never got to that point. To be fair, Netrioid didn't go Brandcrops either, so he's not missing out on too much, as Mask can't quite clean up Panitom. He's got Chapo here, though, and this should be a nice kill. They finally catch out the Unbots and send him back to base.
That's going to make it tricky for Sanguine to go for a Phoenix now, not wanting to do a pincer maneuver, Space Station Gold, without the crushing wave available, without the World Serpent, trying to abuse this Ullr mid to get some quick and easy towers.
I don't know if he can stay here. Chapo has stuck around maybe too long. They're just going to move into the jungle and find them here. They're moving back towards the purple buff. Maybe they've gotten far enough away to where Sanguine won't be able to feel out where they are, and they can just keep running.
The Greyhounds are out and they're sniffing for the escaped convicts, but the masked Yellow River, too quick. And this is honestly separating Sanguine all over the place. Tier
really
1
good.
solo tower now goes down. Space Station Gaming really pushing and pushing away at Sanguine.
They're going to try and grab this tier 2 tower and right. It really is just Netrioid here, so they should be able to get it. Uzzy backing. That's the dash down from Oswaald. He tried to catch it in between and couldn't. But now the back's interrupted and Matty might be stuck in a bad part of town.
Netrioid doesn't have the banish for a little bit longer, but Mattypocket is willing to sacrifice himself as long as Uzzy and Oswaald can survive. And the longer he can buy time, the less time there is for Sanguine to counter push.
Yes, that was a good idea there from Mattypocket, I think. Once they realized they'd stuck around a little bit too long, just go ahead and commit in the other direction and give his team that easy out. Now, with 4 members still with Fire Giant, the question becomes, can Sanguine come in and truly capitalize on that buff? They got the tier 2 and right, but there's still room for them to get plenty more.
It's a 5-on-4 advantage for about 15 seconds as Mattypocket's about to revive. Uzzy taking a decent amount of damage. I like
Guardian.
the fact that Uzzy did pick up that item. Guardian shutting down Netrioid quite heavily. Even though Netroid's magical damage and Guardian's physical defense is about the passive, slowing the movement and the attack speed.
Well, they're going to try and move right into the mid-Phoenix and capitalize. Fear no evil goes right to the back line onto Oswaald and a Mass to keep out the priority targets. Uzzy melts like butter amongst all the pressure from the rest of Sanguine. Forces Chapo to jump over the wall, and mid-Phoenix still under siege. Sanguine have bought enough time and have claimed themselves the objective.
Finally going down. Mass going to prevent himself from getting stunned. Looking for something because he still has the crushing wave. Blink is available, but he's in combat.
That's a huge banish. It forced Mask to ult forward. He didn't have another choice. He wouldn't have had time to turn around. He just had to get out of there as soon as possible and look for some value. And Sanguine yet again turn up the heat on Space Station. I mean, as good as Freya is everywhere else, I think I could go to my grave saying Banish is the best ability she has.
Oh, it definitely is. Being able to
so
set up the way she has. Like, she doesn't have the ability to do as much damage as she has in the previous patches.
Sure.
But you got the rest of your teammates anyway. Sheento's damage is very, very high to follow this up. And the magical damage between Netrioid and Sheento, you can't even really counter it with Runic Shield in this game because either Oswaald or Chapo have to pick it up, and neither one of them really want to pick it up.
Whoa, Chapo, adventurous on a sabbatical. He'll make it out of there A-OK, though, and be able to back towards his team. But yeah, I mean, some of the traditional, like, sort of bruiser items might not even help.
Yeah, definitely not going to help in this instance, and that's why we're seeing the player damage out of Netrioid really start to skyrocket. Almost 14,000 damage for him. Sheento sitting at just under 11,000. Panitom finally getting some kills for himself. He was about 0-9 until finally he got a couple of kills, being a part of 15 of his team's 19 kills total.
Exactly right. Netrioid having a great game. Really, the entirety of Sanguine are. And this just feels like an excellently drafted comp and then executed well. I mean, a couple of small things. Remember the Aegis Netrioid had against Mass Ultimate Duo? That was crazy. If that doesn't happen, that slows down this farm by a ton. He's had some really good banishes, too. There's been a couple small things.
That's right. That was one of the very small things.
Yeah.
Such as the blink, being able to not wait maybe a second or two before
like right
the
at this
water
area from
cannon
Mass,
with the blue buff. Yeah, that could have been a kill as well. Aggressing at the red buff, where Netrioid found the 1v1 victory over Mass while everyone was worrying about Panitom's damage after Ronngyu narrowly escapes as well. Like, that was another misescape. The blue buff invade not calculating the rotation from Ronngyu and Sheento.
Right. It's just all those small bricks eventually form a house, and the house is a 19-3 lead and a 12,000 gold advantage for Sanguine. As Spacestation did find a tier 2 and left, they've done this quite well, which is recognize they can't win these fights elsewhere and just kind of split push to make up some ground. That decision-making's been there.
The one archer eliminates the backdoor protection, but Chapo is not basic attacking anymore. He's backing off. Mask goes down. Uzzy forced to use the ultimate. I thought for sure that was going to be a hard commit to at least get the left side Phoenix.
And that would have been critical for them, even if they lost some enemies on the backside. So that felt curious overall. I'm pretty sure Mass had beads for the Fear No Evil there too, and didn't use it. Maybe they only just came off cooldown. Uzzy's also very far forward. He's certainly dead to rights here as he ends up falling. A bit curious on the back end of this game for Spacestation.
Yeah, not a good place to be for the World Serpent, that's for sure. He can't go from one tiny room to the other. But now left side Phoenix gonna get looked at by Sanguine in a 5-on-3 advantage. But luckily for Spacestation, Netrioid and Panitom not really there. They could take this 3-on-3 on the left side.
Would still be good.
But they're grouping up in middle instead. Sanguine not really putting themselves in position to get exploited because they're not even going for the Phoenix Finch. They're going for the end.
They might just push in and try and win this game. They already have the Lightning Storm. There's no way you can stop that damage from coming through. The rest of Sanguine move into the Titan room. Fear No Evil clears out all the space, and Sanguine grab game number 1 in 25 minutes.
22-4. Panitom's Hun Batz really starting up the engines, I would say, for Netrioid to get ahead. Also for everyone else to feel comfortable. Jarcorrr on the Osiris was rather quiet. We didn't really say his name too often there. He did find the one pick onto Uzzy that didn't have the World Serpent that one time. But I think all of Sanguine collectively very patient early game, and it worked out for them.
Very impressive from them. And a lot of just really small mechanical things that we saw that tilted the scales in their favor ever so slightly as the game went on. That's a big win for Sanguine, but can they close it out? Let's get it back over to the desk for them to talk about it.
Thank you, Finch and Tolly. Sanguine make it look easy in that game. As I said on the desk, when Spacestation Gold is going to win, it's going to be because Mask is having a big game. He had the opposite of that, and Spacestation Gold did the opposite of winning. This Hobwob really struggled.
I think that it kind of began for me when Spacestation was first trying to get aggressive in that dual lane. Mask, Matty, and Oswaald seemed to kind of just struggle with actually confirming the last hit, and so Netrioid is able to get away, and then we see Spacestation trying to do this small grouping and look for an invade after the fact. Chapo had even started making the rotation, but Misery sure does love its company, and for Spacestation, they sure did have a lot of it. Everything that I felt could have possibly gone wrong for them, and a lot of those overextension situations did. Yep. And they were punished accordingly by Sanguine.
Yeah, as I said as well during picks and bans, I mean, Freya, usually the counter matchup against Xbalanque, they pick the Xbalanque into the Freya, and Oswaald just gets crushed in that duo lane. And there's really not that much you can do. I mean, Freya slows you down. She gets sped up when she has the hasten ring. I don't even think that the Netrioid went for the hasten ring that game, but it still was enough to really make it all work.
I think that after Oswaald just fell behind from solid gank off of Panitom, that's really all that Netrioid needed. Netrioid probably didn't even need the gank, honestly. He probably could have found that solo kill either way, just because of the fact that that is a tough matchup, I think, for the Xbalanque, like you mentioned. But it definitely felt like Spacestation wasn't all together for this first one.
Excuse me. No, I mean, this is what we expect from Sanguine, right? Is good, solid team play. The team fight composition, as we were kind of advertising it as, definitely came to fruition. In the more individual carry style of Spacestation Gold ends up really getting run over pretty quickly.
And I think for Spacestation Gold, what I want to see is them probably go back to something that Mask won't have to be so squishy on. I think that this team functions best when Mask is able to actually have some form of control over the jungle, and Hobwob, if you can get him off to a great early start, then awesome, but you also need to make sure that your side lanes are equipped to handle that, and I just don't think that Xbalanque is necessarily the pairing that you want with this Hobwob if Mask intent was to gank that duo early on.
No, that is a tough matchup for you to try and come over, excuse me, as the hiccups have taken over. And let me tell you, for me personally, Taco, she eats like peanuts with the shells on. When I get the hiccups, it's GG. And there's nothing I can do about it. So bear with me as I'll be interrupted a few times by him, I'm sure.
No, just keep the sentence going. Trust me.
Yeah, just keep it rolling. Okay, well, the Osiris selection, I think, is what... There it is. For Ronngyu, really was difficult for Uzzy. I mean, what is he supposed to do against that premier pressure god?
Deep breaths, 3 at a time, in and out, and I got this pickup. So
thank you.
Uzzy against the Osiris, I think that Jarcorrr was kind of just left uncontested in that solo lane. I don't think that it was necessarily possible for Uzzy to find a solo pick kill against this Osiris. Sanguine were more than aware of that factor as well, and even though we saw Mash try to spark some action from that solo lane in the mid game, it just kind of fell apart.